Hey everybody, Gina here. Several people were discussing the other day on one of the groups about breaking a bead on purpose and replacing it. I know, sounds crazy, right? But sometimes there's a place for it. So I want to talk about that and show you the way I do it. It's not necessarily the only way or the best way, but this is the way that I have found works for me. So what you're looking at is a piece of peyote with a twist. It actually happens to be a pattern that I designed, and you would think, you know, if you're the designer and you're making it, that you should be able to do it without any trouble, but yeah, not so much. I made a mistake. So as you follow this design down, you'll notice, oh look, there is a big mistake right here. I have 3 red beads in a section that should have been white. And the bad part is, if I'd noticed it, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5, even maybe 10 rows after I made the mistake, I probably would have frogged it. And for those of you that don't know what frogging is when you have to rip it out. That's why it's called the frog stitch, which is actually my least favorite stitch on the planet, I'll just say. If I can find another way to fix something, I'll do it rather than rip it out. Well, in this case, I think I was probably, I don't know, about up in this section up here before I realized, oh no, I made a big boo-boo. So instead of just, you know, taking care of this, I thought, oh, I'll make a little video so that you can see how I deal with this. So before I do, just real fast, I want to talk about, you know, busting out a bead isn't always the best solution or even a feasible solution. And sometimes, you know, if you make a mistake, it's not even that big of a deal to just ignore it. You know, some cultures call them spirit beads. I know that in Amish quilting, they specifically will try and make a mistake in their work. You know, that they sometimes call it a humility patch, or so making a mistake like that isn't the end of the world. If you're like me, I'm pretty anal, and those 3 beads will keep me from being able to enjoy this piece, and I certainly would never give it away to someone. I wouldn't be able to sell it. It'll bother me, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Now sometimes if you're doing something like a Cellini spiral and you make a mistake, and let's say instead of putting in a 15, you put in, you know, one of these crystals or vice versa, that's going to affect the integrity of the piece, so you definitely would have to rip that out. You know, I have busted a bead where, you know, in the peyote section, I have done that before. Sometimes I've accidentally broken a bead. But anyway, enough jibber jabber on my part. So here's what we're going to do. I want to start off first. I'm going to be stitching in a new bead here, so I want to go ahead and anchor my thread before I get too far into this. And because I have 3 of them to replace, I'm just going to come in here off to the side in the white section, and I'm going to secure a piece of thread. I am using nanofill. I was a long time Fireline user. I still do use Fireline in some cases, but I really like nanofill. This is 8-pound, which is a little bit heavier than what I typically use. I typically will use a 4-pound. It seems to be my favorite. So I'm just going to come in here and secure this, and then I'm going to work down. You'll notice I didn't use a stopper bead. You certainly could use a stopper bead if you're more comfortable with that. I in most cases don't find it necessary. So, all right, so I'm just going to stitch back down. Again, this is just a peyote piece, so pretty easy for us to get in here and weave around. So what I want to do is I want to weave down far enough that I'm going to come out this other direction, heading up towards that red bead. Okay, so I'm just about there. I'm going to come up here. Okay, and then I'm just going to let my thread hang off to the side for a minute while I work on getting this bead broken. The reason why I wanted to weave my thread in first is I want to be ready when it's time to weave that white bead in there to just get right on it before those beads try to collapse in on each other. All right, so here's my method. Here's what I do. I'm just going to take a spare needle, and I keep junky needles. I typically don't throw my needles away unless I break them. You know, and even sometimes when I do break them, I still keep them around. So I've put my needle in there. The reason I've done that is to help protect the thread. The biggest risk of doing this is slicing your thread. And I've done it. It doesn't give me happy thoughts, I'll just say that, when it happens. But again, it's not the end of the world. So we're going to say a little prayer right now that I don't cut the thread, but if it happens, well, then I'll just show you how to do that as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm taking my pliers, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to squeeze this bead. I want to make sure that I don't catch any of the other beads with it, and I'm just simply going to squeeze this until it breaks. Maybe. Of course, I put lotion on right before I did this video. I had alligator skin really bad. Okay, got it broken, and you'll see I've got a little bit of that bead down underneath that I'm going to have to pull out. Okay, so doesn't that look ugly and scary, that big gaping hole? Well, don't fret. What we're going to do now, let me get my tail out of the way so you can see. I'm going to come back up through that white bead that was right there. I'm going to pick up the white replacement bead, and I'm going to go into this white bead here, across and over to the next door neighbor, back down through that white bead, and then I'm going to go down into the black bead. So basically you're just securing it to all of its neighbors, welcoming it to the neighborhood. See, wasn't that easy? Boom. Like it never happened. Except we have to do it 2 more times. So I'm going to turn the corner and head back up this way, and I think I'm going to come in through this neighbor because that's the bead that we just secured. And because there's more than one here that I'm replacing, I'll probably go back through and when I'm done videoing, I'll probably come back through and just run one more time through there. Okay, so 1 down, 2 to go. This is the part where you're all going to pray that I don't slice my thread. Put my needle in there to help protect it, to give that barrier in between. And I'm going to fuss with my slippery fingers. I was going to paint my nails before I did this video, and it just didn't happen. Well, this one's a tough little booger. The other thing you have to be careful of is that you don't break one of the beads next to it. Alright, bye-bye. Gotta get the bottom of this out of there. Remember, beads are made of glass, so they can be sharp, so also be careful that you don't cut yourself, because that can happen.